Hey everybody, so I am back at home in my hometown of Boulder, Colorado, right next to the Boulder Creek right now, in fact. Yeah, and I wanted to show off a little bit of fun stuff that had come together actually in the past few hours. Many of you may remember from Poiboi's performance video at EJC this lovely little ditty, which is cap versus pendulum, wherein you stall out the cap and you use a pair of stalls to switch over the direction of the cap, right? Poiboi just released another video to the web of one of his performances in Israel, and he performs his trick slightly differently in it. He is, rather than doing a pair of stalls, doing a pair of floats. And the floats flow back into each other. Which I thought was a very interesting choice, and the more I played with it, the more I realized this trick fits together with a number of other tricks I've been looking at lately, and particularly some L-based tricks. And you can actually use this as a means of doing exactly the same thing that I'm very fond of using 1.5s to do, which is changing timing and direction. Let me show you what I mean. So, the dissection of this trick is when you're performing the cap, you're doing the anti-spin portion of it. As you come out of it, you use that moment to stall the poi out, the poi that's doing the cap, right? Now, the poi that is doing the pendulum, as that stall happens, it is going to be shifting back the other direction. As it does so, if you want to do it the first way, you give it a little bit of oomph, and it turns into a stall. If you don't, you just bring it up Ronin style, and it becomes a float, right? Now, what happens with the other hand is, once you cross that threshold, after this hand stalls out, it pulls back around in a loop down below, and you can either stall it straight up and come back around, or you can go with the aforementioned option of doing it as a float, in which case, when the pendulum's back down, it'll be pointing the direction you want it to, right? So, the whole thing put together, as both hands come down, you line them up together, going the same way, and it turns into, once more, cap versus pendulum. And you switch both the direction and which hand is performing cap and which hand is performing pendulum. Yes? Now, here's the funky thing. This move is pretty much exactly the same as this move. Instead of spacing the hands apart such that they line up in what would normally be a very good hybrid configuration, we are lining them up with hands and poi together, right? It's a different articulation of the same thing. Now, this also affords us the opportunity to switch between timing and direction in a lot of interesting different ways. The points we want to look at, number one, are the points where the hands and the poi come together. Now, this is also a point of articulation that we have in split time opposites anti-spin flowers, and especially when we use those to do stalls. Right? It is also if we want to change up how we're having the hands meet for a little bit. So, for example, with this pattern, we bring the hands together in the middle, but there's no reason that we have to stick with that option. For example, this is, if you want to keep one hand up high, this is an excellent means of getting into this set of horizontal stacks that Charlie came up with at Wildfire based upon one of Mel's patterns. We can also perform this bringing together the poi and the hands, right? In which case, we can just as easily use it as a way to switch around in same time, same direction, right? We can think of it as being a top stall point, if we were so motivated. And of course, switch back into the original pattern, lickety-split. It all depends on whether we have the bottom hand come up to meet the top hand or the top hand come down to meet the bottom hand, right? Next, if when we're performing this, we split our hands apart right in the middle there, you'll notice there comes to be a point where the pendulums are going in opposite directions from each other, right? This is an excellent point at which we can switch into split time same direction, right? And it's a little trickier to get out of it, but essentially we can return to this same position, and we're looking at going right back into the original pattern. Or we can trick it out a little bit and switch right back into the original pattern. Yeah, this one's still throwing me a little bit for a loop, but trust me, it's there. So, next up, last one, opposite same time, right? Now, in all the patterns we demonstrated so far, the first hand that initiates this action always goes up, right? There's no reason it has to, though. We could just as easily think of it as starting from up and going down in the middle of that flow, right? If we do that, we wind up with a lovely moment where we can switch into split up, or rather opposite same time down below, and we can then return to our original position. Yeah? So, this is a nice little trick that opens up a lot of different possibilities of switching timing and direction combinations. And I really, really like it for that reason. So, thank you guys for watching. Happy holidays. Play around some with that, and I will see you all soon. Peace.